organize my real estate, and I'm curious how all of you organize your real estate. Before I go, is there any platform operators that are Seattle Investor Club members, like people who offer management software? Joe, do you know of any?
Not, I don't think so. Not
Okay.
that I can think of.
Fair enough. How are you doing, Cecilia?
Good. How are you?
Good. I have a cold. I don't think it's
Oh,
COVID or
no.
anything, but it sucks because I couldn't call in sick to work because I retired
Oh,
last month. So it's like a wasted cold.
that's funny. Well, hope you feel better soon.
Yeah, I'm mostly bringing it up just in case my voice comes and goes. It's actually me, not the audio. So let's go through. Start with Osama. Do you have real estate, and how do you organize it?
Yeah, so I have a few rentals, and I use apartments.com.
Okay.
It used to be Cozy, and then they were bought out by apartments.com. So I use it for the ledger, payments. Just makes it easier for me, and it's a free service. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
I use them too. I used Cozy, and then I used Apartments. I'm mostly not online with most of my stuff. Like right now I'm doing a trial run for Hemlane, which kind of does what Apartments does, but then it adds in managing your handyman, and you can have like leasing agents for them go out. And so I haven't gotten there yet. How about you, Cecilia? You have rentals. How do you organize them?
You know, actually, like there's one more thing. Like the one thing that takes the most time from me, like when I'm turning tenants, is preparing the new leases. Like I use the RHAWA like leases, and then I have to manually, like it's not like I can just choose like all of, like on the real estate side, like if I'm doing like a real estate transaction, like using the MLS, I basically just plug in the names of the buyers or the sellers, and then it automatically fills all of the forms with that, and it puts kind of like where all of the signatures need to be. But I haven't found a way to do that with the rental forms.
I'm in the same boat. I got my lease off of the Washington State Landlord Tenant Resource page several years ago. I haven't seen it posted since, so I don't know what happened to it. Bigger Pockets has leases written by attorneys for every state too, but it's the same thing. You have to open it up, change the address, change the rent, change the deposit, change the tenant, change the dates. There's not, so far, I haven't found a simple way to do that.
Yeah.
And Cecilia?
So I'm not self-managing anymore. I had previously tried Hemlane and Cozy as well, which I guess is now apartments.com. So the main thing for me is like the bookkeeping. So I use QuickBooks for that. And then I'll just like once a month go into my property manager software to pull the reporting and then kind of do my bookkeeping from that. So that's kind of the main thing for me.
Okay. And I know, Alex, you are in the lending world and you do asset-based lending. I'm hoping some of the people I've sent your way have worked out. Do you, or are you going to own rental properties? And if you do, how do you organize it?
Sorry, did you say like, sorry, I just joined, so I might have missed the question.
Yeah, so we're just kind of going over how you are organizing your real estate, because I'm going to cover mine, and I think the people here that have been doing it a while are going to realize that it can be kindergarten simple. So that's why I'm asking, like the actual pros here. How are you doing it?
Wouldn't consider myself a pro. Like I have a couple of duplexes in Tacoma. I have a really small portfolio. For me, I'm small enough right now where I can just keep everything organized via a couple of Excel spreadsheets. And then I take what's it called? I take apartment payments. Like it's small enough where I just self-manage them, and I just have my clients pay me, or my tenants pay me via apartments.com.
Okay. And they have I think it's like Hemlane too, where they have a free service where if you wait a couple of days, you get the money. I think you could pay a small amount and get the money sooner.
Yep. And I'm fine with the free service right now. Like if my portfolio gets a couple more properties larger, I'm probably willing to pay for someone to help manage and like take some of that time off my hands. But for the moment, I'm more than fine, with things as they are.
Cool. I am part of my goal is actually to keep my portfolio to the size where I don't need property management. I like the interaction with the tenants. I like being the one that's making the decisions, because you're really just putting a person between you and your business, which you can get lucky and have an amazing one, but you might get unlucky and not have an amazing one. Is there anybody else here, like Kathy or Jazz or Jonathan, that's willing to share, how you organize your real estate?
Okay, for me, I do self-manage because I have a couple of 6 units. Sorry, I would say that one of those I self-manage. The other one I do Airbnb. I do have a property manager. Then one of the 6 plex, I do have a long-term tenant sitting there, so he keeps an. I guess he's my eyes and ears. But for bookkeeping, I do it myself because I'm an accountant.
Okay. Cool. It's very similar to what I'm doing. I think I haven't even done short term yet, so you have more going on there than I do. Nice. Marishka, how do you organize your real estate portfolio?
Oh, it's all over the place. No.
Understand.
So sorry, I kind of missed the beginning here because I was popping on, getting off another call. So just in general, or I mean,
just real basics. How do you organize it? How does it work for you?
Yeah. So I have, because I do a couple of different things, I have some different platforms that I use. So, and I might be kind of changing those up. So I had something kind of specific for like all of our notes that I kept in Podio. It was kind of a custom a custom thing there that allowed me to, connect with servicing companies and connect them with investors and blah, 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 blah. With the, when we had rentals, I used Buildium, which is a kind of a property management platform. Actually, I guess a lot of property managers actually use it to just kind of, you can have your payments go through there. You can even do your advertising on there if you want. So just kind of kept everything on there. So I'd use that for, our rentals as well as, lease option properties, such things like that. And then of course, the CPA kind of, we have like, little schedules of, notes owned, properties owned, blah, blah, blah. So.
Okay.
Is that?
So, and it shifted quite a bit once you got into the notes. Right?
Yeah. So that's kind of a whole different animal because there's just different information that's needed.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
But no, you haven't like signed up for a software program where you run it all through that.
I haven't found anything that is, let's see, adaptable enough to put everything into. I mean, especially like with notes, that one is basically there was a fellow note investor who saw a need and said, I'm going to, create this program to help note investors kind of keep track of their investments. And so I was one of the betas, who kind of jumped on with that. Because I don't know that there really was anything. I think most note investors keep things on spreadsheets or something, So there really isn't. I haven't discovered anything yet that can combine both, physical real estate along with notes.
Yeah, the weird thing as you're growing a business is you become so niche down to what you're doing, like our truck driving school. There are 63 CDL schools in Washington State, thousands across the country. You figure there'd be some software that runs truck driving schools. There isn't. So we went to Salesforce. We spent $50,000 to $80,000 over
a custom
year, and it didn't work. So a Salesforce employee quit and built us a platform for us that would work for what we were doing. It was so different. So each person here with real estate is doing something so different.
Yeah.
I can't imagine there being like one place to go and say, okay, this is how you record everything.
Yeah.
But it's all working. Right? Like all of us are able to do this.
Yeah.
Cool. So if there's anybody else who wants to share like how they're doing it, we can get that. But I'm going to jump into my kindergarten version of how I manage my real estate and how I motivate myself to buy more real estate in the future. Okay, so nobody jumped in. Some people have a vision board, and my original concept was I have behind this, I usually have whiteboards so I can do videos with whiteboards and stuff. And I thought, okay, so I'd have like a picture of the property, and then under the property I could list out when the washer and dryer were changed, when the roof was done, the current tenant, the current lease. And I thought vision board because you want to add things to the board. So you can have, these are the ones I have, here's the ones I want or something. But how much data needs to be recorded for a property wouldn't do really well on a whiteboard. And my goal was to retire and then spend 2 months in Florida and 3 months in Thailand and a month back here with the rentals. So I came up with this. This is my entire business. This is literally, they're on Amazon. They're like $10, maybe $15 to get a couple more things or whatever. But what I did is it's my vision book. So I have one spreadsheet, and I'll share my screen here and show you how simple that is. And the people here, yours are probably way more defined than that, but somebody watching this in Futureland and Recordedville might want to see what my spreadsheet looks like. So what happens in this book is each property gets 10 pages. So the property will have a picture of the property, and then I'll put in, this is the book from the coded locks that I installed. So it has the master codes at the top.
Oh, nice. Yep.
Then I'll have the tenant's information, when they signed the lease, what their lease amount was, when the rents changed, really physically in my hands kind of method. But 10 pages is enough to go through and say, this is when I did the garage door. This is when these appliances were got, where they were gotten from. That's great grammar, where I got them from. But the motivation factor comes from, I can take this anywhere, but there's a lot of 10 pages. So I've only filled 70 pages with my properties. It's very kindergarten simple. This is what the property looks like. One of them, it's a house. It was my most confusing property to me because all of the other ones were house, duplex, fourplex, units, different addresses. This one, it's one address for a house and a duplex. So in there, there's actually a drawing of the house with the tenants' names in it and their numbers. Then the drawings next to it, so I know which unit I'm talking to when I'm doing something like a tenant flip or a lease renewal. And then I'll pull it up very quick to show what that spreadsheet looks like and get laughed at because it is as kindergarten simple as it gets. Share the screen here in a second. So there are platforms like apartments.com, which I've used. I've used it for 2 tenant flips. I'm using Hemlane now for one to make some reacting to videos to say, this is what my experience was like. This is what the different options of what they do were. I've used Cozy before Apartments, but that was really just to list the property.
Yeah.
I've never done anything like let me collect rents or let me use their lease or their leasing agent or their handyman, that kind of stuff. And I assume, there we go. I need a 10-year-old to come and do all the tech for me. So this is the spreadsheet. There really are only 2 tabs. And on Excel, these tabs would be at the bottom. This is on numbers because I'm on my Mac. But at the top, I have rents. So there's a number. You can name each unit what you call it. But I just went with numbers because this is the spreadsheet. I put the information in. Here's where the income came from. So here you would have rents, coin-operated machines, anything where you're getting income. I don't put deposits here because that's not actually income. It's not my money. It goes to an account and it's saved for the tenant, which actually they should be earning the interest on it. So it's not even in my spreadsheet at all. And then most of my units, the tenants cover all of the expenses, except I have a few where the water has to be paid for by the owner. So I have the units listed, even though they all don't do that. So I'll list out the whole year for rental income. They total on the end of the year. They'll have the total rents, and then there's a number for the total rents and income, because those are the numbers the CPA wanted. I want to know what you had it come in total. And for some reason, sometimes they'll want to know where to assign the money to for when they're running your depreciation schedule. Things I don't want to even know how it works, but I want to pay somebody to do it right. So if you'll notice, each month gets 2 columns. The idea for me is I diversify my properties, right, in different areas, but I diversify by having 1/3 military, 1/3 Section 8, and 1/3 working or retired. So different sectors can be impacted by a pandemic, a government shutdown, a stock market crash, but I'll still have rents coming in. So I have 2 columns here for the tenants where I'm collecting money from Section 8. One column would cover the payment that came in from the housing authority. The other column covers what comes in from the tenant. So I could track the rent every month in this spreadsheet to see when rents are paid. As far as the expenses go, it's very simple. What does the CPA want to know? And is it easily searchable?
Yeah.
So the first thing I do is the payment method. I want to know if I paid cash for this, used a credit card, which credit card was used. Did a contractor pay for it and then get reimbursed? All of those things can go in this payment column. When it happened, so that if you ever need to shift from paying, I just pay annually, I don't pay quarterly. But if something happens and I had to start doing my taxes quarterly, I would know which quarter my expenses occurred in. Then the company is the name of the store or the contractor or the handyman or whoever made the money from you. You want to separate price and tax because price is a deduction and tax is a one-for-one correction of what you would pay in taxes. The CPA understood the words I just said. I didn't, but I know that they wanted them separately because it's a better benefit to you to have the full tax write-off instead of just saying I paid the combined amount. So when you're getting your receipts, like right now, meals, if they're associated with your business, are a 100% write-off. They were 50% for several years. And then because of COVID, they changed it to where it's 100% write-off, but you want your taxes separate. So if you go and you eat at a restaurant, it's hard sometimes, but you have to ask for the receipt that has the taxes on it. And so 2 or 3 times I've had to have a short 30-second Dion talk with the waitress on, yes, it actually matters. It's going to change my income at the end of the year. And since they don't run a business, they'll say, well, I file my taxes too, and it's never made a difference. I'm like, oh, well, mine does. So you have the total, which property you're assigning it to, because depreciation schedules are different. And then you need the notes because the type of depreciation is different. And what I'm about to say, I don't understand. I don't want to understand it. I'm very happy that the CPA earns their money by getting their degree, their experience to do this right. But you have scheduled depreciation, bonus depreciation, amortized depreciation. What is the expense? What it was used to do? Did it upgrade the property? Did it maintain the property? All of that is things that I'm very happy to pay the CPA to take care of. And they make that determination by what you put in the notes. Kindergarten simple. Like that's it. That book and this spreadsheet with 16 rental units.
Yeah, that's great.
So let me stop sharing my screen here. And it's funny when I get into groups like this, or I do some YouTube videos with One Rental at a Time and Lumberjack Landlord who have hundreds of units. And I feel like I'm the kid, look how simple I'm doing it. And then I go to other people and I'm like, oh yeah, that's how we're doing it too. Even though you've been doing it for years and you're in notes now and you did different types of real estate. It seems like when we talk to new investors, people want to make this as complicated as possible. Right. And my brother, I want to do a video with my brother sometime. He doesn't have any spreadsheets. He's got a ledger, a paper ledger, and a box of receipts. His CPA must hate him because he just brings in a box of receipts. But it works. 10 paid off rental properties. He's been retired for 8 years. He just likes simple and he never got into anything. I think he's now going to property management. So he won't have to worry about listing properties. It was all word of mouth in the past. You just tell the tenants, I have a unit opening. Do you know anybody? And he never had a vacancy. So it can be that simple.
I would say it's a good idea on your receipts to at least take a picture of them or scan them or something like that, because receipts have this nasty habit of fading over time. And you're looking at this receipt that you're sure was probably worth something, but you cannot read the amount. And you're talking about bringing the box in, I've actually never met my CPA. He lives part-time in Chicago and part-time in Florida. So everything has to be done electronically, but you can still keep it pretty simple.
Yeah, I've never met my CPA either. I love the picture idea. What I've done is with the column where it says what paid for it. Yeah, I know to check the credit card statement or the bank statement or whatever. That doesn't have the details. Like a Lowe's receipt or a Home Depot receipt does not tell you what you purchased. I've had the person when you're returning something go, I don't know what this is.
What is it? Yeah.
I'm not going to scan it, right? So the pictures thing is a great idea. They do fade, they get wet. And then one thing I'm really happy about, retiring 3 weeks ago now.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a credit card for the company. So
Yeah.
it would pay for any expense that was company related.
Yeah.
But if you lose one of those receipts, like I was the president of the company, but the person in accounting that was monitoring those receipts was like my grandma. Like, you don't want to upset that person. That was this huge cloud over at the end of every month of, do I have all my receipts? Very happy that now it's just me. So if I lost one, I lost a couple bucks on taxes. Yeah, sorry. Cool. That was the topic I wanted to cover today. And I am definitely open to ideas. I like the idea of taking pictures for receipts. It's probably something I should be doing because I get most of them because I'm too lazy to go do this stuff. It's the handyman saying, here's the light you put in, right? And they send me the receipt. So I have a picture of it already. I should start saving those into a file.
And just put them in a file, and I just, you can get pretty granular if you want. You can have them, certainly you should have them by year, but you can put them in by month, and then, yeah.
Well, the really cool thing that a lot of people don't know, and I'm wondering if somebody has a Samsung, if it's the same way, but your picture, like a spam phone call. I love having real estate. You can put a title on your picture.
Yeah.
So if you go to search, you could say refrigerators, or you could search washers, or you could search the rental property name, because we get thousands of pictures on your phone eventually, and it's super easy to just go in and search the title, and then that picture shows up. So that makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. And just, as a place to keep things that is kind of simple and works across all platforms, and cloud-based, Evernote is a lovely place to hang notes and files and pictures and websites and all kinds of fun stuff you might be interested in keeping.
Evernote. Okay.
Evernote.
Cool.
It seems like it's almost kind of like if you've ever played in Podio, you're like, oh, what do I do with this? It doesn't tell me what to do. So you kind of have to have an idea of what you want to do with it, but it really will allow you to do almost everything. And their symbol is a little elephant because elephants never forget anything. And it has great search features. So if you talked to, say, a seller in Bremerton whose name was Bob, I mean, you could enter in your search terms either Bremerton or Bob or, whatever. And anything that has a reference to Bremerton or Bob will come up. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, and then Willie is saying Expensify is a good tracking receipt. We've tried a couple of different things with our truck driving school to track receipts over the years, and all of them fell through for one reason or another. But we weren't, I wasn't running just my business. You had some instructors who had flip phones. Things would change based on that type of people.
Yeah.
So cool. Anybody greatly affected by the Fed changing the interest rates yesterday?
I mean, I think the market had mostly baked in the 75 bips that they bumped it up. But there's already noise being made about them bumping it at another 75 bips at their next meeting. So if hey, look, if inflation data comes back still looking about the same or worse, then expect rates to take another big jump.
I like how they made it normal. The last 75 basis point jump was the largest since the 80s. And now we get another one and we're like, oh yeah, it's the same as the last one. Yeah. I've spent the last week pretty much almost in every conversation trying to explain how banks lend on margin, or how lenders lend on margin, and that the Fed rate is not what your mortgage rate is going to be. And the change isn't going to be what the change is. Yeah. Any other topics people would like covered today? I know when Julie's here, she's usually got a list of things to go over.
So mortgage rates actually improved with the increase yesterday and the last one too, because it's showing that the Feds are more aggressive about controlling inflation. And then that causes more confidence in the bonds market, which is really what affects the mortgage rates. So when there's more confidence in the bonds market, people buy them more, and then mortgage rates come down. So it was a good change, actually.
Yeah. I think it was some of the stuff he said after announcing the rates, where when the Fed keeps buying assets, Fannie Freddie backed on their books, lending fear is down, so rates can come down. When the Fed wants to start that, qualitative tightening, where they start getting things off their books, and it puts more of that risk on the lenders. Even if the Fed rate stayed the same or went down, we could see interest rates go back up. So there's like all of these different factors that impact what's happening with lenders rates. I just did a video the other day on why the last time the Fed rate went up, interest rates went down for 2 weeks in a row because of the same thing. They were saying, yep, they're trying to get inflation under control. So that's been every topic that comes up with inflation has been trying to educate people on the Fed rate is not your mortgage rate. It is really closely tied to your credit card rate. So if you have, adjustable rate consumer debt, you want to get that under control as we have rates going up, but not so much on the mortgage side.
Yeah.
Cool. So anybody here this is their first time to this kind of meeting? Or to this platform, I guess. Because I recognize most of the names, but I never trust my memory. So, and then Kathy asked if we've ever tried the Dext app for scanning receipts. I haven't, or if we have, I don't remember. I know we tried 3 or 4 over the last decade, and none of them stuck. It ended up just being, nope, you got to scan it, make a folder. Not sure why though. How about Hamed? What's going on in your world?
Hi, Dion. This is not my first time, but I'm newbie for the real estate investment. I'm looking to buy my first property, my primary resident, and that's the first thing I'm gonna do, and I'm here to learn.
Cool.
Thanks. Yeah.
Good first step. And the great thing with a group like this is there are people from all different aspects.
Yeah.
So you have different types of lending. If you run into somebody like me, I'm probably going to try to talk you into buying a house hack for your first property, something where you can reduce or eliminate your housing cost. But that doesn't mean it's the right way. It's just the way I did it. So I talk about it too much probably.
Yeah. That's my goal, to just do house hacking. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I've never done that, but I think it's an awesome way to do it. And I have also encouraged several people to start that way.
Yeah.
I think it's really important when we're first starting out, especially now that the information is out there, because it's the easiest way to get on the property ladder with the lowest down payment and the best interest rate.
Mhm.
And yes, for a year or two, life isn't perfect. You didn't buy the house with the white picket fence and the best school district and everything is amazing and it's the life you're going to have forever. But 1 or 2 or 3 years of doing that, you then get to have, I'm looking at, if I buy a place for me to live, the place that I'm in would probably rent out for $1,800. So as long as I can keep my mortgage less than $1,800 when I move out of this unit, I'm still living for free. So it started from house hacking, but it continues to that.
Right. Right.
Since you asked the question, I'm looking to buy in the South King County. What area do you think is the best for house hacking? Do you have any thoughts about that?
So I have a lot of thoughts. I don't know the best area. The thoughts are, a lot of times people think I don't want to house hack or own here because it's too expensive.
Yeah.
The more expensive the market, the more important house hacking is.
Yes.
Right. I'm sorry.
Because people can't afford regular rentals on their own. And so it becomes an opportunity to cost share.
Right.
Sorry,
So
I
I have a
just
friend.
interrupted.
I have a friend, Millennial Mike. He's a state trooper. He lives in Seattle. He house hacks a duplex. He lives for free. The other side's rented out for $2,400, which is basically almost the price of his mortgage.
Mortgage.
But he invests in Gary, Indiana, because it doesn't make sense for him to buy investment properties where he's at. It's really hard to find cash flowing properties in his market with his strategy. So house hacking is important there. It wouldn't be important in Gary, Indiana to house hack because he'd be saving $700 or $800 a month instead of $2,400 a month.
Right. Yeah.
And I know if there was anybody here who wasn't at the beginning, I'm sorry, I have a cold. And so my voice is going to come and go a little.
Thank you.
I would look at different asset classes when it comes to house hacking. Most investors tell their agent, I want a house hack, so I want a small multifamily. Or some people house hack by buying a single family and then in a year moving out and turning it into a rental. So they've missed the search pattern for an asset class that has the best lending and scales like a small multifamily. And that's to search for a house with an ADU or a DADU. So an accessory dwelling unit or a detached accessory dwelling unit. It's basically two houses, one property. Works like a duplex, but for lending purposes, it's literally considered a single family house. So you don't get the little bump for being small multifamily. And a lot of investors aren't looking for them, and a lot of home buyers don't want them. So you do tend to eliminate a lot of the competition when it comes to making your offers. So whichever marketing county you're looking for, I would make sure you're adding that. But we don't control the listing agent. So make sure you include, there's colloquialisms from all over the country, and your agent might be from somewhere else. So ADU, DADU, granny flat, mother-in-law house. If there's any more I'm missing, somebody should let me know. But those are the ones I would list when I'm looking for those. And my real estate agent, that's actually what he invests in. He's got like 4 or 5 of them, all houses with an ADU.
Yeah. And sometimes they'll abbreviate mother-in-law to MIL.
There you go. Thank you. See, so, and that's because you don't control what they listed on.
Right.
So it shows up in the search if you put all of those kind of things.
You have to put them all in there.
And it's often easier to convince a spouse or your kids to house hack if you have no shared walls, separate driveways. I mean, it's just like having neighbors, except you get to pick them. Yeah, cool. And let us know how that goes as you're hunting.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
They're actually coming up on the market now. They used to be snagged, but now they are on the market. So you can find them.
That's what I'm excited about right now. We have the one metric that's changing. Days on
That's
market.
interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder why that is.
So days on market is changing because a lot of sellers wouldn't sell, except prices were going up so much. They're like, oh, that's a great number. I should sell. So they listed it 2 months late.
Yeah.
2 months ago, they would have got the offer they were looking for. Interest rates changed, took away some people's buying power, took away some people's yield. So they list it with their wish price, and what their agent said, yep, the way things are trending, this is the price you're going to get. So now what we have is the first time to be able to find the motivated seller. For the last 2 years, if you bought a property, it was because speed was your friend. You got an offer in quick before they realized how many offers they were going to get. And so you have no idea to know if that was just somebody who sold because the price was enough, or if because they had to sell because of something like a divorce, death in the family, birth in the family, have to move. Well, now you're going to be able to tell who's a motivated seller. If their price is going up and they list it and they want 600,000 and you wait 10 days, because 2 days was the average a year ago, but at 10 days you make an offer that you were embarrassed to make. Like, that's my goal, is to be embarrassed. You offer 400. The person who was just selling because the price was great won't answer. We'll leave it there, might even just take it down. The person who has to sell is going to counter. So now you can make that offer where you ignore the list price and you think, okay, what number makes sense for the yield I'm looking for? And so finding the motivated sellers is what I think is going to matter for the next 2 years, probably.
Any insights as to why I saw being mentioned that the properties with ADUs are no longer getting snapped up? Any insights or theories as to why that might be the case?
I think
I
it's
have
just like general.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's
I'd like to hear both of you.
Yeah, because just like properties are staying a little bit longer, and I think a lot of people who want to buy and have been wanting to buy for a while, well, before they weren't able to buy because of the competition. Well, now they don't want to buy because they're waiting for the market to crash.
Okay.
So I think it's more of it's like people who want to do it, but then they're not actually taking actions, and then they're just finding excuses to not do it. So hopefully people will understand and realize that now they have an opportunity. Like, I have a client who has been wanting to buy for a while and they haven't been able to because of the competition, but they were able to get a house under contract and negotiate seller concessions too. So now is an opportunity for sure.
Yeah.
Yep, you nailed it. It's in general, like, buyer demand went away. Supply is going away too, because people have that interest rate lock. You can't sell your house or your investment property that has a 3% mortgage and go buy a more expensive one. So the move up buyer's gone. But we're seeing more. It's house with ADU, small multifamily. I was getting 4 or 5 emails from my agents for the last year, and now I'm getting 20 to 40 of new listings that are having
Yeah.
days on market.
I guess I wasn't, it's not so much, I understand that there's more houses on the market or more housing availability. So is ADU just a function of that, or is there something specific about there's more ADUs? Is it just that it's part of the mix, or is there something specific or disproportionate? Maybe there is, maybe there isn't, about more ADUs being on the market. That's kind of where my question was, but.
Yeah, so what I meant when I was saying that they are becoming available is just because there are like
Or houses in general.
in general.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's not like, oh, wow, suddenly ADUs are like in abundance. And so for every 10 houses that are, more on the market, half of them are 80, okay, that's not necessarily.
Well, I think that's happening too, because like some cities like Seattle and Tacoma that are allowing ADUs, like people are building them. So that's becoming more available as
More
well.
prevalent.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I
nothing
just
weird
mean,
about it though. It's just
Yeah.
kind of a function of what the market's doing. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious if you had what your thoughts were on that. Cool.
Yeah, I just went and looked at a house in South Seattle in Beacon Hill that had the garage was converted into a living space.
Yeah.
That has its own separate entrance and all of that. So I think like 3-4 months ago that would have been snagged versus right now. Yeah. Like if I was looking to buy my first home like in Seattle, I probably would buy something like that because I can rent the ADU.
Yeah. And what we're running into is sellers are listening to their agents, and their agents are saying, or they found out from their neighbor, that house over there just closed at this price. So you can get that price. But that was,
so many sellers are coming in way too high and they're having to adjust, and especially like in the, let's just say a buyer was approved at $1 million, well, if they were approved at $1 million at 3%, suddenly that buying power is down to about 700. And that's a big difference in house, so they're kind of sitting back and going, well, wait a minute, I want that nicer house that I was looking at before.
That's where the move up buyer is kind of gone. And the entry level buyer, buyer demand has been, it was the purpose of raising interest rates. They want to slow inflation. So they slow down buying.
Yeah. Whatever.
They slow down building. Builders are dropping off left and right. Just price cuts, not taking on new roles, new contracts. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, we're seeing, in fact, a lot of the new builder construction, they're offering huge concessions, now big, $20,000, buyer concessions that they can use for closing costs or rate buy downs or, whatever. It's like, okay. And plus they're cutting their prices as well, but they try to do that last because they want to keep their comps, in a new build neighborhood. They want to maintain their comps. So I get that.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. It's going to be a crash in transactions. When we look back at the end of the year, compare this year to last year, it'll be half the transactions. I think we were a little over 6 million last year. We're on track to almost hit 4.5 this year, but we'll see how the rest of the year goes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah. And that's what's great is there are a lot of people who've only been investing in an up market.
Yeah.
Where your flippers and your burr people could make mistakes and have delays. And the price went up so much that they made money. The longer the mess up took, the more money they made. Not so much this year.
Right. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of oops. Can't refinance the way I was planning to. Can't sell it for what I thought I was gonna. Yeah.
Which I think for the people doing the work and knowing their market, knowing what's going on with rents, watching for those deals, you might be able to save somebody from a bad position, something that they can get out of. Hopefully without them losing money.
Without them hemorrhaging too badly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
Okay. If there's any questions, we'll get to those. If not, we'll probably wrap up a little bit early today. Cool. Anything big coming up? Any local meetups or anything?
So I actually checked from last week about kind of like if someone is buying a house on an option and then they want to get a loan about it being a refinance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it would not be a refinance. So it would be a purchase transaction. And as far as them using some of the rent they paid for, like on the option as they were renting, the amount of money they can use is the difference between what the market rent is and the actual rent they were paying. So if the market rent was like 1,500, but on their option they had to pay 2,000, then they can use that extra 500 towards their. They will credit for that towards their down payment.
Yeah. So it's really important to document what market rent is at the inception of the lease option, because if it changes over time and now you're having to go back and justify that this was actually a rent premium, not not market rent, that's pretty important. I remember running into that before, back in 2012 and whatever, when people went to exercise, and I quickly learned to do that. So is that, Osama, is that with both conventional and FHA or?
I just checked on the conventional part.
Okay.
So I know for certain it will not be a refinance in any kind of loan, because in order for it to be a refinance, the person doing the refinance will need to be untitled already. So if they're not untitled, if the seller is still having title in their name, then whoever gets a loan to get that will be a purchase transaction.
So I guess my next question would be, is if that person had, say, a memorandum of option. So their name is actually on title, just not on the deed, if that makes a difference.
I did ask. So I reached out to a couple of different lenders to their underwriting departments, and they said that wouldn't make any difference.
Okay.
So
I think that used to be the case. So, and maybe they've changed, underwriters change their minds, they change their criteria over time. So
yeah, so you have like what happens is you have Fannie and Freddie guidelines, which are published online. You can just Google Fannie and Freddie guidelines. And then you have lenders who have overlays.
Right.
So you have like additional requirements on top of whatever Fannie and Freddie require. So but I did reach out to a couple lenders who do not have any overlays over conventional guidelines.
Okay.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, if there's no questions, I'm going to go be sick.
Is it just the perception of your camera, or is that a really huge flask?
I think it's a normal size flask. That's the camera.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah. Normal size. You're right.
exactly. For a normal size cold.
Right. All righty then.
All right.
So,
Cheers, everybody.
all right. Take care. Thank you.